Welcome, guys, to a part of SEMRHI Balance Blueprint's program to move you toward wellness. Today we're going to talk about two subjects that I think are vitally important to help you progress in that way, moving toward wellness, and that is mindfulness and spirituality. The question that I usually start with is, do you like to know how to do something more, or do you like to know why you do something more? Well, that's really what we're going to look at today, because mindfulness and spirituality both deal with those two questions separately, but as I say, they come together later to hopefully produce in you not only your purpose for doing things, but really the right way to do things. Spirituality you can kind of think of as showing you the direction that you're going, and mindfulness tells you the awareness of what you're doing, and together they produce wise action. And isn't that what we all want to do, is act wisely in everything that we do? Mindfulness, like we say, helps answer the question, what's happening right now? Spirituality answers the question, why does this even matter that it's happening? And here again, when we put them together, people make better decisions, especially under stress. And let's face it, all of us are living with stress in our life. Don't ever expect that moving toward wellness will get rid of stress in your life, but hopefully it will cause that stress in your life only to make you better and not to cause you to have some emotional issues, especially with anxiety and or depression. Most burnout isn't about workload, it's about losing connection to meaning, why you are doing things. Mindfulness helps people notice when they're overwhelmed before they hit the wall. Spiritual grounding helps people remember why they keep showing up every day. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness can be thought of as paying attention, staying on purpose, being in the present moment without immediate judgment. And that last thing is so important. If you judge what you're doing all the time, it will certainly cause you, number one, not to do it as well. But number two, it will rob you of the joy that you thought you would have in doing what you're trying to do. Mindfulness isn't emptying your mind. I think everybody thinks that you're supposed to get out in the woods and sit by a tree and just not hum and not think of anything. That is not mindfulness. Some people use meditation as a part of mindfulness, but really mindfulness, it's noticing what is happening. Your thoughts, your emotions, and body sensations before they run the show. You want your thinking brain to run the show, not your feeling brain to run the show. What mindfulness does is it creates space between what happens and your response to what is happening in your world. Why we need mindfulness? Stress is constant, like we talked about. Reactivity is automatic. Our brain is made for our own safety to react instantaneously almost to our environment. But unfortunately, that's a part of the brain called the amygdala, and the amygdala is what is the seat of emotion. But then after that, you have to choose how you respond to things if you want to do it wisely. And so that's what we're going to do, is awareness interrupts what we call autopilot. In other words, you responding the way you feel like you should, and it restores your ability to make a choice in a given situation. When we're stressed, we react fast and often regret it. Mindfulness slows things down just enough to make those wise decisions. Most burnout isn't a lack of effort. It's living on autopilot too long. And I've heard it so many times, and this is just not true. People say, I respond the way I do to situations because that's just the way I am. And we know now, big fancy term called neuroplasticity, that the brain can change at least until you're 80. And the only reason we stop at 80 is because that's the oldest that people were when they participate in the studies. I believe that you can continue to change the way you are wired in your brain until you die. So no longer can you use the excuse, I responded that way because that's just the way I am. And that's what we're looking at for mindfulness today. How do you practice mindfulness? Is it just a concept that you hope for? No. And I'm going to bring up something that a lot of people, until they start using it, kind of laugh at, and that is learning how to breathe. When you start thinking about your breathing, you do two things. Number one is you go from that emotional part of your brain, your amygdala, to the thinking part of your brain, which is in the prefrontal cortex, the top part of the brain. We don't have a lot of it, but the little bit that we have is extremely strong and beneficial for us in making decisions if we will give it a chance to catch up to the situation. So what breathing does is, number one, cause you to enter that thinking part of your brain, and number two, it actually changes the chemistry of your blood because it slows down your breathing. You build up carbon dioxide, and you're able to reset how your brain works in doing that. So what you do is very simple. You breathe in for 4 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, you breathe out for 6 seconds, you hold it for 4 seconds, then you do it again. Now I close my eyes because, and I'll be honest with you, it gets you kind of almost sleepy because it calms you down so much. So what that does is it gives you that brief pause to move from feeling to thinking. That's mindfulness. Metacognition simply means thinking about thinking. That's what mindfulness is. It makes you think about what you're thinking about. I have another little thing that's kind of funny at our house and in our family. It's called take 2 steps back. And that take 2 steps back causes you once again to do something you have to think about. I have to look back, make sure I'm not going to fall down, but take 2 steps back, and that causes you to reset and use that thinking part of the brain. If you can do that, it once again gets you from the feeling part of your brain to the thinking part of your brain. Notice your surroundings, just looking around you and noticing a lot of times, sometimes the beauty of what's around you, sometimes of what's different in your surroundings. Here again, causes you to think and not just feel. Very important that you name your response to it. Why am I feeling this way? You know, I'm anxious. Why am I anxious? Maybe I get angry, but really I'm not getting angry. I'm getting anxious, and that anxiety is producing fear in me because I'm losing control, and none of us like to be out of control. So that here again puts you into the thinking part of your brain. You choose what is the wise thing to do then, not what I feel like doing, but what is the wise thing for me to do moving forward. Let's talk about what mindfulness is not. Mindfulness is not therapy. It's not emptying your mind. In fact, it's quite the opposite. It's actually putting in your mind what is beneficial for you to make wise decisions. It's not ignoring the problem. It actually is addressing the problem, but it's doing in a logical way, not in a way that your emotions are controlling you. And it's not your personality type. Here again, you cannot say that's just the way I am. It is thinking about thinking again, that fancy word, metacognition. Like strengthening a muscle, and it works best when practiced briefly and consistently. Let's shift over to what is spirituality, and you're going to start seeing the overlap. Okay, spirituality, a sense of connection to something greater than yourself, finding meaning, and aligning your values with how you live. Psychologists actually define spirituality as the human search for meaning, purpose, connection, and transcendence. It is broader than religion, though religion can be one expression of it. And I think, especially here in the South, when we hear the term spirituality, our first thoughts for most people is to go to religion, but it's really more than that. Everyone has something that anchors them, something they go to in life when life doesn't make sense. The benefits of spirituality, it lowers depression, anxiety, and stress. Physical health, believe it or not, spirituality has been shown to lower blood pressure, cause better immune function, and, you like this, increased longevity. And in relationships, it's strengthened through forgiveness, gratitude, and compassion. There's actually an over 75-year-old study that's been done at Harvard that says that if you have good relationships and you have a good purpose in your life, there's a chance that you're adding 5 to 10 years to your life. What helps your spiritual wellness? Here again, mindfulness and meditation support emotional regulation, reduce stress, and help people stay present. Very important thing that most of us do, but sometimes we forget to, and that is gratitude. Daily recognition of blessings improves mood and life satisfaction. And another, not just one study, but other studies say that it can add at least 5 years to your life if you are a thankful person. And so I would just really recommend that people, in particular at night before you go to bed, write down 2 or 3 things that you're thankful for that day. When you get up the next morning, you read that list and you be thankful all day long as you move through your day. Forgiveness, it reduces anger and fosters inner peace. We know now that bitterness can cause significant health problems. Blood pressure can cause anxiety, can cause depression, can cause ulcers. It can cause all sorts of things if you carry around bitterness in your heart toward other people. Service to others boosts purpose and community connection, which causes you to have a spiritual aspect of your life that is significant in what you do every day. And I practice this a lot, and that is the connection with nature. It evokes awe and perspective, and it restores balance to your life because you realize that all of this stuff that's happening around us in nature has a balance. Another study has been done that shows that over 93% of Americans at this time do not spend any significant time in nature. And I do believe that's one of the reasons that we're seeing a lot more problems with mental health issues in our society at this time. Daily practices that you can do: deep breathing, meditation, prayer, gratitude journaling, 2 to 3 things that you write down daily and then review that. And then something that we don't get a lot of, and I try to stay away from cell phones because I can get off on those, and that is silence and solitude. Even 5 to 10 minutes of silence and solitude, disconnecting from everything around you. Other practical strategies are acts of kindness, serving others, boost your spiritual and emotional wellness, and here again, that connection with nature. Mindfulness helps answer what's happening right now. Spirituality helps answer, why does it matter? When you put them together, you can make better decisions, especially under stress. Remember, it works best when you practice it. It's not going to be automatic. The immediate response we have to life is emotional, and that takes us out of both that mental awareness and that spiritual awareness of life. So you put it into practice, and you will be amazed at how you start. Because you're rewiring your brain, you will start moving into a way where not only do you make wiser decisions, but you understand the significance of those decisions and why you actually make them. So keep up the good work, keep participating, move toward wellness. Proud of you.